What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Prime Sports Podcast. This is our 12th episode of the season, and the regular season has finally come to an end. And joining me to talk about it is our co-hosts Tony Sutton and Blake Elijah. Unfortunately, Pete isn't able to be here tonight, and we've had a lot of problems with our conflicting schedules, but I promise we're getting it worked out, and soon we should have it all back to normal and have it all figured out. But and first and foremost, let's start with the Damar Hamlin injury update. As we all recall, he passed out after making what seemed to be a somewhat routine tackle against the Bengals and Bills game last Monday night. And it was a super scary situation that has never really been seen in the NFL. And there was a lot of love and support that Hamlin was receiving due to this. And the good news came out that he ended up waking up on Thursday. Friday, the breathing tube was being removed and he was finally making some progress. And when he first woke up, the first thing he asked doctors was who won the game. So it just goes to show you how dedicated he was to the game itself. Tony, talk to us a little bit about what Hamlin's injury meant for the league as far as player health and player support, because it was a very stressful and emotional week for the entire league as a whole.
Right. I think this is going to be a huge milestone or event in the evolution of player safety and how it's viewed in the NFL. A big thing that this injury shined a spotlight on, something that people didn't initially take into consideration, is these clauses in NFL contracts where players get paid less if they receive an injured reserve designation. It was actually decided by the NFL and the NFLPA that he would get paid in full. He wouldn't not get paid as a result of this injury. And I think this might be the first time. It was the first time I had actually heard about these kind of clauses in contracts. And the fact that that's a fairly routine clause in most NFL contracts, the fact that there's now illumination on that could potentially mean that players are starting to get more fully guaranteed contracts, more guaranteed money. Because, you see what happened to Damar Hamlin. He almost died on an NFL field, and his family could have potentially ended up with less money as a result. Now, thankfully, he has, he didn't die on that field. He has recovered, and his recovery news seems to be coming in positively in the days passing since his injury. And he also got lucky with the fact that because of everybody coming together, because of the enormous wave of support that he got, it, made it so that the NFL and the NFLPA felt that the right thing to do would be to pay him out for his contract for the season there, and not penalize him there. But these kind of things where players have been having life-altering injuries and not getting paid for it has been the rule. Damar Hamlin's case was the exception, and I think we could see a change in the status quo with how these contracts are being written and how player safety is being taken into account now that money could potentially be on the line for these owners.
Yeah, obviously it's extremely important now to kind of secure these players' financial futures because of injuries being such a problematic thing. Blake, obviously, as a Raven fan, dealing with the Lamar situation, he's still looking for a new contract, and he's been dealing with an ankle injury. How do you see it from a fan point view of trying to show players that you care about them and that their health matters, but also not wanting to fully guarantee these kind of contracts to players who may get injured often? I mean, look at Jimmy G, someone who frequently has injuries and isn't able to pay should it be the organization's fault that they're not able to, help in that situation? How do you feel being someone who their quarterback is in a somewhat similar situation?
See, I kind of agree with Tony on this situation with those clauses. Not a lot of light has been shined upon those clauses because something so serious has really never really happened in the league like that. I do think the clauses are going to stay intact. I do think this is more of like a one-off type of situation. First time something like this has ever really happened. I mean, just because the owners and the organization is like, you're not going to pay a player like Jimmy G, who's going to stay consistently injured. Someone like Sam Bradford back in the day, people were paying them big money. If you're not playing, then that's hurting the team and hurting the way the team can build and things like that. So I do believe that these clauses are going to stay. Maybe they add a new clause in for something, emergency cases, something like this, but I do think it's going to be pretty much the same and not much is going to change in regards to the contracts and how they're going to be written.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's going to be something to look at in the off season, because I predict a very wild off season full of moves. A lot of people moving this off season with quarterbacks, receivers. Even though the free agent class for receivers isn't deep, I just expect there to be a lot of movement. But what's the most important thing here is that DeMar is finally healing up a lot better than a lot of people expected at first, because it wasn't looking good at first. But thank God he's finally back in Buffalo. He's still in the hospital there, but he was finally able to leave Cincinnati and come back home. And obviously the support for him has been amazing. So, thankfully he's able to recover now and support his team back home. We're going to take a quick break here, and then we're going to jump into the most exciting games from this past weekend. It was the last week of the regular season, and we had a lot of games that determined playoff seeding and division winners. So we'll take a quick break, and then we'll jump back in.
Dobbs is hit from behind. The ball's out. They're calling this a fumble at the moment, and the return by Allen for the touchdown.
Welcome back, everybody. We want to get it started with the next segment, which was a recap of the most important games from this past weekend. Let's get started with the Jaguars and Titans. Obviously, it was a game that whoever won the division and made it into the playoffs. And obviously, the Titans have been on a really bad losing streak, and the Jaguars have been playing extremely well. Trevor Lawrence has had a spectacular second half of the season, while the Titans have kind of struggled finding their quarterback and kind of finding the rhythm on offense. The Jaguars came out, and it was a pretty close game. I think it was a lot closer than a lot of people were expecting. But at the end, the Jaguars handled their business, took control. Blake, what did you take from this game and Trevor Lawrence's performance, the defense's performance, and them finally winning the AFC South and being the division leaders after having the number one pick the past 2 seasons?
I mean, I love it. I don't know if y'all remember, but I was riding Jacksonville when they were just beginning this streak, and you guys were doubting me. I wanted to put them super high in our power rankings, but you guys didn't want to, and it just proves my point that Trevor Lawrence is arguably a top 5 quarterback in this league. The defense is very underrated. They got a good secondary. They have the leading NFL leading tackler in the middle linebacker with Olukon. I can't really pronounce his name. They still have Josh Allen as an edge rusher. I think this is a team that no one really wants to play in the AFC at the moment. They're hot, they're young, they're hungry, and I feel like they're going to come in and do some dangerous things. But as far as the Titans go, it's a complete opposite. They're I don't want to say that they're going to go into a rebuild, but they need to figure out their quarterback situation big time.
Yeah.
Joshua Dobbs looked better than Malik Willis did. 10 times better, to be honest. I mean, he looked very in control of the game compared to Malik Willis, but they're not going to be able to do anything, and they're going to be wasting Derrick Henry's prime with not being able to have a complementary quarterback and receivers to help complement him and take him where he wants to go.
Yeah, Tony, speaking of the Titans, do you think they're one quarterback away, similar to kind of like what people thought the Broncos were? Or do you think there's a lot more that they need done? Because their defense seems to be good. Their coaching is good. Obviously, Mike Vrabel's a good head coach. But, yeah, there is the scare that Derrick Henry's potential is going to get wasted. Do you think they're a simple quarterback away? Do you think maybe a move like for Derek Carr would help that organization from the get-go? Or do you think it might be better to just blow it up and maybe kind of regroup again?
I think that the Titans think that they're a quarterback away, but I wouldn't agree with them. I think that they need an improvement at quarterback, but their skill position area is significantly lacking. And with another year of work on Derrick Henry, can you ride that for another full season? My gut's telling me no. And, Derrick Henry could surprise me. He is a physical specimen at running back. He's so tall, so powerful, so strong. He is really fast for someone his size. But at the same time, history has shown us year and year again that you can't work running backs into the ground because they will fall apart, they will get hurt, and the offense will go with it. And I don't think just adding a quarterback to that fixes that. They've needed some help at offensive line for a while as well. And they definitely need some help replacing the massive hole that A.J. Brown has left in this offense because he was their second best playmaker on that team. Treylon Burks hasn't panned out the way they wanted to. Robert Woods hasn't panned out the way that they've wanted to. And, you're talking about a team that their best receiving option might be Austin Hooper. So I think they have a lot of wood to chop. And I feel like part of me thinks that the reason they moved off Tannehill and tried to go with Dobbs and rested players the week before is that they had almost given up on the season. It certainly feels that way. Despite how close this game was, I just never really sensed that the Titans were interested in winning more games this season, that they're looking to replace their quarterback maybe through the draft or trade up, or just I feel like they just kind of gave up at the end of the season. And with the season on the line, the team didn't show up. Derrick Henry showed up. He played this game. He played a good game. But ultimately, I just feel like despite how much better Joshua Dobbs played than Malik Willis has, I still don't think either one of them is going to be that great for them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely think the Titans really do have a problem at quarterback because I don't see them being able to upgrade that position well enough to get them to a point where we take them as serious contenders. The Jaguars, though, a team that a lot of people thought would be lacking weapons. A lot of their wide receivers were people who thought these are more wide receiver 2 type of players with potential, but no one really knew what they were going to get out of them. But Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, Marvin Jones, these players are really balling out, and I just wanted to give them a quick shout out because the Jaguars went out there and they paid for all of these guys, paid high price for all of them, and a lot of people did question it. I even had a couple questions about it, and they're balling out. They're really finding a success with Trevor Lawrence, so shout out to them. Moving on to our next game, the Jets and the Dolphins. Blake, what did you make of this game? I feel like we all have a consensus that the Jets are a good team, and same thing, kind of similar to the Titans. They're just a quarterback away from really being a complete team. Personally, I had the Jets winning, but the Dolphins, who are a team that started off extremely well, started to fizzle off at the end, and they squeezed by the Jets here at the end of the season with Skylar Thompson at quarterback. What do you make of the Dolphins win?
It was a bad win. It was a very, very bad win. I mean, it was an ugly game overall. It was hard to watch that game. I think their streakiness was all because of they had a very finicky offense of play calling. If you've seen how they play, everything is a quick slant for Tua, and I mean, I know he was out in this game, but it's quick slant crosses. He doesn't have the arm strength to get it to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle how they need to. I don't think the Dolphins are going to be anything next year. I don't think they're going to do anything in the playoffs this year. I mean, unless Tua comes back and Tua comes back playing how he was week 1, week 2, and week 3, I don't see them having any shot to really scare any of the teams in the playoffs at the moment. But it was a bad loss. And what's crazy, I saw a little thing on Twitter saying that they're contemplating maybe even getting rid of their head coach. And I was like, that's shocking. I do think he's a really good head coach, and come in year 1, get them to the playoffs. It's a feat, but I think they're a couple pieces away from being able to really make a full-on run.
Yeah, I agree. Tony, what do you think the Jets have to do? Because, again, this was an extremely close game for the majority of the game. Both sides obviously lacking offense. What can the Jets do to kind of use this season and this close performance, knowing that they had their chances to beat the Dolphins, to improve on that and hopefully make the playoffs next year?
Well, I think the first thing that the Jets have to do to be competitive next year would be to get healthy. Having Breece Hall back would be amazing for this offense here. He was really good. That being said, Zonovan Knight and Michael Carter have been serviceable backups for this team. They've still been able to run the ball effectively, but I think their real nagging concern is quarterback, and they're the team I think is actually just a quarterback away. They've had such a tumultuous time at quarterback this year. They've had 4 quarterbacks play in games this season, and it hasn't all entirely been due to injuries. You've seen some poor play from Zach Wilson. He got replaced by a CFL quarterback in the middle of a game. He had he had terrible performances later on in the season. Mike White, who was promising, his first game in, he had a pretty decent second game, and then he gets hurt, and you can just tell that the injury is taking an effect on him whenever we've seen him since. And then it's just been Joe Flacco when they had no better options. And Joe Flacco just isn't a starting quality quarterback anymore. But they just had no other options. So with the way that the NFL free agent market is about to be, and, with what we see with all these quarterbacks potentially moving, I think that, they need to get healthy, and then they need to go get a quarterback. Whoever the best quarterback available for them, if they go get that,
Jimmy G.
If they go get, Jimmy G, I mean, I think they could even maybe potentially trade for Derek Carr. They've got some different options for sure, but whoever they get, they bring them in there. They're going to have success there. They have a good head coach, great positional players, and a great defense. Their 3 draft picks that they had this most recent rookie class, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, and Breece Hall, that is 3 for 3. Those are all hits, all great players on this team, young players, bringing a quarterback that knows how to win, and they'll be looking just fine if they stay healthy.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like Blake said, I don't think the Jets, or the Dolphins, the Dolphins are scaring too many people right now. They had a lot of potential at the beginning of the season, but they're in the playoffs, so we'll get to see how they pull themselves together and compete against the Bills in another matchup. And the Jets, obviously, I think, like you said, are truly a quarterback away from competing, and someone like Jimmy G, who just needs to not turn the ball over, play consistent, spread the ball around to his playmakers and Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore. Hopefully Breece Hall gets healthy. And I think they're set. Obviously, Jimmy G has the connection with Robert Saleh, so I think the Jets are in a good position. Moving on to our last game here, and it was probably the most highly anticipated game of the week. It was the Sunday night game. Everybody was excited to see what was going to happen. The Packers have been riding this wave of everything needing to go their way in order for them to make the playoffs has happened, and they've been winning and they've been playing better. And the Lions are, America's heartfelt story. Everybody's rooting for the Lions. They've been playing amazing. Unfortunately, the Seahawks won in overtime against the Rams, which kept the Lions out of the playoffs. So they were playing for virtually nothing at this point because they couldn't make it in. But they know how disrespected they are by Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, and they wanted to play spoilers. And they come in there, and behind Jamal Williams, 2 rushing touchdowns to break the Barry Sanders Lions rushing record in the season, end up spoiling the Packers' playoff chances and knocking them out of the playoffs. Tony, get us started here, being part of the NFC North here. What was it like watching that game and watching the Lions ride Jamal Williams and Aaron Rodgers into the dirt?
I mean, I loved every second of it, watching those two teams just take each other down. And, neither team's going to get to play in the playoffs. I do enjoy the fact that the Lions won this game, also partially because they've ended the Aaron Rodgers experience in Green Bay. I don't think he's going to be coming back. The way he was looking around the stadium at the end of the game, the things he was saying, his entire demeanor says that was his last game in Lambeau. And
yeah,
it's a little bittersweet because he's been in this division for so long, and I've seen him play so many games. I'm happy to see him go, but he went down sad, and I said that he was going to get his way in there. I thought he was going to have a clutch performance. This game did not go the way I thought it did. It was a bit of an ugly game. There was lots of penalties in this game, lots of miscues, lots of weird moments. Aaron Rodgers just looked bad this game, and Jamal Williams looked really good this game. And I thought that was just the most interesting dynamic. Jamal Williams was able to get key runs for them, get into the end zone when they got into, goal-to-go territory. So I think I'm happy for it because neither of those two teams get to make the playoffs. I'm excited for the Lions because I think they have a promising future. We'll see what their quarterback situation looks like because Jared Goff didn't have his best game, but he didn't have an awful game. And with the Packers, I think it's time for Jordan Love and probably a good reset here with the team and moving out of the Aaron Rodgers era and into whatever's next. And we could see the first season in a long time where the Packers haven't been in that discussion come the beginning of the season. And we're going to be looking at a completely different division in the North next year for sure.
Yeah, the Packers are interesting because, like you said, with the Jameson Williams asking him for his jersey after the game and him saying he was going to hold on to this one adds even more to the speculation that he might not be coming back.
Yeah.
Blake, what do you see with, where do you think Aaron Rodgers could play? There's a possibility he could retire. Maybe he could play somewhere else. Give us somewhere you think he could possibly play at. And then what does that mean for the Packers receivers? Alan Lazard, who's supposed to be their wide receiver 1 this year, is a free agent this year. So they're lacking weapons offensively. Will Christian Watson be the same with Rodgers gone? I don't know. What do you make of that situation in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers and then the receivers?
Man, there could be a lot of different places he can go. Me personally, if I had to choose one where I think he would go and that he would best fit, would be the Las Vegas Raiders. Going back with Devontae Adams, they already have that chemistry. Devontae Adams probably had one of his best seasons that he's ever really had. I think that would be just a perfect match. And from the vibe I'm getting from what the Raiders want to do is that they want to bring in a big-time quarterback, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and make a push. So I think Aaron Rodgers going in there, them being able to just maybe build up that defense just a little bit, I think that would be a perfect match for them to be able to succeed. Going to the receivers, Alan Lazard, he's gone. I think he's definitely gone.
Yeah.
I don't see him having really any reason to come back, especially if Aaron Rodgers is gone. If Aaron Rodgers leaves, I think Alan Lazard would be a perfect fit with someone like the Cowboys. Cowboys coming in as a receiver too, a top end receiver too, to be able to give some relief from CeeDee Lamb and be that big time deep ball, jump ball threat. I think he would be a perfect match in there. And then as far as Christian Watson goes, it kind of just depends on who they bring in. I don't know if they're going to stick in with just someone like Jordan Love or if they're going to make another draft pick, bring someone in like a Derek Carr. I don't know what they really are going to do, but I definitely think Christian Watson is going to be solid, but he's not going to be playing how he's been playing the last couple, or at least the last back end of this season. He's arguably been lights out the last back end of the season, and I just don't see that happening with the likes of a Jordan Love or a rookie draft pick.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see a lot of potential in the Packers' future with what they have going on offense. Obviously, we don't know what they have in Jordan Love. The receivers are still a question mark. Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, no one truly knows. Obviously, A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones, which I don't even know if one of them might be a free agent after this year.
Probably.
I think it might be A.J.
I'm
Dillon.
pretty sure if it's either of them, it's A.J. Dillon because Aaron Jones just got a contract extension not too long ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
isn't their third receiver right now Randall Cobb? I'm like,
yeah.
I think
if Rodgers is gone, he's for sure not coming back.
He's retiring.
Yeah, or he's retiring, or he's going to follow Rodgers wherever he goes.
Yeah, obviously they're going to be in a mess, and the Lions, like Tony said, they do have a promising future, and they do have a lot to be excited about. Obviously, Aiden Hutchinson had a really good rookie season, finished with 9.5. He had 2 sacks against the Packers.
Aiden Hutchinson might have put himself in the defensive rookie of the year over Sauce Gardner with that 3 interceptions.
Yeah, 9.5 sacks too. He was everywhere. Aiden Hutchinson was literally everywhere, and I think Jamal Williams is a free agent as well.
Yeah.
So they're going to be missing quite a few pieces and see what they're going to be doing there. Are they going to bring him back? Are they going to stay with Swift? We're not quite sure, but Amon-Ra St. Brown is a good piece on offense. Jameson Williams, obviously. So there's potential there. I think we're going to take our last little break here. Now that the playoff picture is set, we're going to dive right into it and give you we'll start off with our AFC predictions, and, we'll go down the list between me, Tony, Blake, and we'll give you Pete's predictions also because we want to make all our choices before the playoffs start so no one can go back and say, oh, you changed it because of this or that. So we'll take a break here, and then we'll come back with the AFC playoff predictions.
Big ball downfield, and it is intercepted by Kirby Joseph. Joseph out of bounds around the 45. He's got Rodgers for the 3rd time, and the Packers are in major trouble.
Welcome back, everybody. We wanted to get started with talking about the AFC playoff picture. as this season finally came to an end, we finally figured out the seeding. The Chiefs ended off being the 1 seed, with the Bills being the 2, the Bengals being the 3, the Jaguars being the 4, the Chargers the 5, the Ravens the 6, and the Dolphins the 7 seed. The Chiefs obviously got the first round bye, and I don't think anybody was really surprised. I feel like they are the best AFC team, and I think they deserve that. Kind of sucks that we weren't able to find out if it could be the Bills or the Bengals, but it is what it is, and it's set. So let's get started with the first game, the Chargers and the Jaguars playing on Saturday night. This was a matchup from just a few weeks ago that the Chargers ended up winning in a close game. Tony, give us your prediction for this game, and then Blake, you'll give us yours, and then we'll give Pete's. We have Pete's predictions as well, so that we have all our choices in before they start, and then I'll give mine. Tony, go ahead.
So I got the Chargers winning this. I think that they have more of a balanced roster. Their defense has yet to truly come together, but they have been playing a lot better these last couple of weeks of the season. Justin Herbert with his full complement of weapons that he'll have. They could be getting Slater back this coming week as well, help protect him. I just think that it could really go either way. I don't hate people saying that the Jaguars could win this, but part of me thinks that this is going to be Justin Herbert breaking the narratives about what he can do in the postseason and how much of a winner he is. I think he's highly motivated to win this game. And the Chargers, they made a lot of moves this most recent offseason. Injuries and sometimes questionable play calling have made it so they haven't reached their full potential, but they've been able to get hotter, put games together towards the end of the season, and I think they'll do just that in this game. I probably take them in a close game. Give me the Chargers 28, Jags 24.
Right.
Oh, I'm pretty much the opposite of exactly what you just said, Tony.
For sure.
I think this is going to be Tony Lawrence breakout debut for him, and I mean he showed it in the playoffs in college football. I think he knows these type of games, and he has a little bit of something else to him. I think this is definitely going to be a shootout. Don't get me wrong. I don't think there's really going to be any defense played in this. If you go back to the last time they played back in September, the Jaguars won 38-10. I mean, and the Jaguars at that point were not playing well at all. So I do think this is going to be a definite Jaguars win, a close shootout. I have this being a 34-30 game.
34. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, my mistake. I was completely thinking of a different game, but that's right. The Jaguars blew them out earlier this season. Blake, I'm actually with you. I also think that the Jaguars are just riding this hot wave. And the Chargers, I still think, are starting to put it back together, but they're still not quite there. They're not healthy enough. The defense isn't playing as good as people thought they should. But it is coming together, and I think it kind of brings up that Justin Herbert versus Trevor Lawrence debate, the battle. My biggest knock on Herbert was that he hadn't made the playoffs. He's in the playoffs now, so I think it's important to see him ball out. I do think it'll be a shootout because I do think it's two of the best young quarterbacks in the league. But give me the Jaguars 34-31 over the Chargers. Pete has the Chargers beating the Jaguars and ultimately facing the Chiefs. Before we move on to the Ravens and Bengals game, I did want to ask you guys, who would you guys rather take right now, Trevor Lawrence or Justin Herbert?
I'd take Justin Herbert.
It's a closer question to me right now.
Yeah.
Based on the last couple seasons, I have to take Justin Herbert. But I think Trevor Lawrence is definitely sneaking up right behind him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. Tony?
Oh, yeah.
I
said I'd take Herbert, and I mean, I would definitely think that it's close. Trevor Lawrence has been playing really well, and I think he has the potential to continue playing at a high level. But at the same time, what Justin Herbert's been able to achieve in his 3 seasons here, breaking Dan Marino's record and ultimately, being one of the consensus top 5 quarterbacks in the league, I think that the fact that he's been able to at least back up how good people have been saying he is, despite what his record may show, definitely deserves his flowers, and that's why I would take him in this conversation over Lawrence.
Yeah, obviously before the season started, it would have been Herbert without a doubt.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even have questions.
But throughout the year, obviously Lawrence has played extremely well, and now he's closed the gap. And I agree. I still think it's Herbert. I still think he's the better quarterback at the moment right now. But let me ask you guys this: what if Trevor Lawrence outplays Justin Herbert in this game and looks a little bit more dominant? Do you think that kind of makes it that much more of a closer argument, or do we still give Herbert the fact that he's been able to do it for multiple seasons at this point?
If I had to chime in on it, I don't think it gives him the nod over Herbert quite yet. Because, you look at it, I know this is both their debuts in the playoffs, but usually quarterbacks don't play too well in the playoff debuts. And I know a lot of quarterbacks get heat for it. So, one of them has to win, of course. So one of them is going to win their debut, and they're going to be, a lot of people are going to argue, oh, he's won a playoff game. Herbert hasn't won a playoff game, hypothetically. And they're going to try to make that argument. But to me, the last 3 seasons plays a big part, and Herbert has looked significantly better and consistently better than Trevor Lawrence has. So until Trevor Lawrence can put it together, maybe for a whole nother season, then I can't put him over Herbert yet.
Tony?
I 100% agree with what Blake just said. It's just, everything you said was spot on. I think that, either quarterback could lose this game and could have a not so great game. It could happen to either one of them here. And both of them have the potential to have a really good game. So this playoff matchup doesn't mean as much as far as where we rank this quarterbacks for now. But next season will definitely be the big Herbert versus Lawrence debate. And, there'll be more conversations to have in the future. So it's a treat for the AFC to have all these talented quarterbacks playing in playoff games this year. And I'm happy for the Dolphins that they were able to make it. So it's going to be entertaining for sure.
It's crazy how young all the star quarterbacks are in the AFC right now. For Patrick Mahomes to be the oldest starting quarterback in the whole playoffs for the AFC, that's insane. He's only 27. So it's almost like it's opposites when you got the two conferences. You got the old guys over in the NFC. You got Tom Brady, Kirk Cousins. It's time for them to move on, and the AFC is definitely taking over when it comes down to the next generation.
Yeah, the amount of talent that's in the quarterback position in the AFC is just crazy, and that's part of what made it so hard to try and figure out which team was better, which team was the best ranked team this year, because there's just so many good quarterbacks. You can make a case for any of those top 5, 6, 7, 8 teams. But that Jaguars-Chargers matchup is obviously going to be a super exciting, a high-powered offensive game that I think that a lot of people are probably split on. But so far here we have it 2-2. Me and Blake have the Jags, while Tony and Pete have the Chargers. Moving on to Blake's Ravens and the Bengals. Ravens coming in as the 6th seed, and the Ravens and the Bengals as the 3. Sorry, Blake, what do you make of this matchup? That obviously the Bengals just beat you guys with a lot of your backups in, but you beat them earlier this season. The Bengals are on an 8-game winning streak. they have the hot hand. Joe Burrow obviously is playing lights out. And hopefully Lamar comes back and is able to play in this playoff game. So what do you make of this matchup between this divisional matchup between a foe you're very familiar with?
I love this matchup for the Ravens. I mean, if you look back at last week and during that game, we lost 27-16, but they had 21 points scored off of those 3 interceptions Anthony Brown threw. You take those away, and they only scored 6 points on against our defense. Our defense is lights out right now, and I honestly, this is the best first-round matchup for the Ravens to be able to succeed, especially when Lamar comes. If this game is for Lamar and he starts, he's familiar with them. It's not anything really new. So this is a great game for him to come in for his first game back in 5 weeks, for him to still shine and do what he does. So I definitely think this is going to be a close game. Don't get me wrong. It's AFC North. It's going to be nasty. I mean, you saw how the Bengals players were complaining that Roquan Smith was playing dirty and all this fun stuff. So it's going to be dirty. It's going to be ugly. But I do have the Ravens pulling out a win with Lamar coming back. And I have this game as a 27-21 game.
Nice. I like it with the upset. Before we get to Tony's prediction, tell us a little bit about Roquan's new deal that he just signed today. What was it, a 5-year, $100 million deal?
Mm-hmm. So 5-year, $100 million. It was 40-something million. I think it was $45 million guaranteed. I'm happy about it. I love it. I mean, no other organization is going to pay a middle linebacker the way the Ravens pay a middle linebacker. So it was a match made in heaven for Roquan to come to us. And, I mean, you just see it. From the moment he stepped in as a Raven, we've been the number 2 defense in the league. Yeah. And if you look at it, nothing else has changed besides bringing Roquan in. So it's significant to have him come in and be that gel to put everything together. And, I mean, he's had almost 170 tackles this year, 3 interceptions, 3 sacks. It's the next coming, the closest thing that we could get to Ray Lewis in a Ravens jersey again. And I love it.
Yeah. No, it's a well-deserved deal for Roquan Smith, and it seemingly worked out for every party involved. Obviously, the Bears were able to get the draft picks and didn't have to pay him. The Ravens got their star linebacker, which brought you guys back to your defensive dominance, and Roquan got the deal that he wanted. Tony, give us your prediction for this Ravens and Bengals game.
Okay, yeah. I don't agree with Blake in the outcome, but I do agree with Blake in the fact that the Ravens do have a good matchup here against the Bengals. I just think that this Bengals team is too hot for the Ravens, and the Ravens have a bit of a question mark at the quarterback position. Everyone thinks Lamar Jackson is going to play this game. If Lamar Jackson is still able to play at an elite level after this injury is yet to be seen if he does go out and play this game. And I think that this question mark situation with their quarterback and, you know, how much that impacts what their offense is able to produce mucks this game up for the Ravens, who would otherwise have a pretty good matchup against this Bengals team. But I think if Lamar isn't 100% and he's playing, this game could get out of hand here. And I think that that's more than likely the result here. I have it still a pretty close game here, but I would probably take the Bengals 28 and the Ravens at 21.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be an old school division rival game. It's going to be hard nosed. It's going to be a lot of, hard tackling, a lot of trash talking. Pete has the Bengals winning as well. He didn't give us a score, but he has the Bengals winning. And I agree with you and Pete, Tony. I think the Bengals are going to end up winning this game as well. I think they're a little too hot right now. They're riding that 8-game win streak. I think Joe Burrow, outside of probably Patrick Mahomes, is the best quarterback in the league at the moment. And I do think the Lamar Jackson injury is a big question. I don't know if he's going to be able to come back and just jump straight into it and, be able to come out and beat the Bengals. Now, if he was fully healthy and he'd been playing the past few weeks and he was comfortable again, I think it could be a different story and it could be a lot closer, but I do think it brings some doubt. So I'm going to take the Bengals in a pretty close game. I think Lamar still balls out, but I still think they're not quite there yet, and I think they win. We'll say 27-24 Cincinnati.
I'm going to say this. If Lamar does come back, it's going to be his best playoff performance. I just have a feeling if he does come back, it's going to be a great game by him. So it's just a matter of, is that knee swelling going to go down? That's me.
Yeah. Hopefully it does.
Yeah. I want to see
I don't
him
think
play.
anybody wants to see, the Ravens not play with Lamar Jackson. And I'm with you, Blake, in the sense that I think Lamar's a very underrated passer. I don't think he quite gets the love that he does deserve in that aspect. So I would love for him to play and actually ball out. Even if I think the Bengals are going to win, I would love to see that.
Also, I can't let you get away with that hot take. Joe Burrow, number 2 quarterback in the league.
I think he's the number 2 quarterback in the league right now. I don't think there's another quarterback playing better than him at the moment.
What? Over Josh Allen?
Yeah. I would argue. I wouldn't just argue it. I would make the case that Joe Burrow is playing significantly better than Josh Allen right now.
Well, let's all agree on one thing before we start arguing about something. We all think the Bills are going to beat the Dolphins, right? There's no disputing that. All right, let's get that out of the way.
That's a straight sweep. Even
boom, boom. All 4 of us say the Bills will beat the Dolphins. Now y'all can argue
By
about
2
Burrow
scores.
and Josh Allen.
I'm so sorry. I need your input real quick, Tony. Like, what do you think?
I'm staying out of this. Because I listen, I get the argument for both of them. If I had to choose one over the other, that's kind of tough, man. Joe Burrow's got the playoff success. Josh Allen has been a better regular season player for most of their careers. I don't know.
Sorry, Burrow's only got 1 season playoff success. Yeah, they made it to the Super Bowl. I give him his props for that, but that's just 1 season. That's it.
All right, but what has Josh Allen's playoff performance been like?
I mean, hey, don't get me wrong. I'm not putting any credit towards Josh Allen. Josh Allen has played all of his playoff games, have been great.
Yeah.
He's just come to the likes of Patrick Mahomes being better. It's just so you can't fault Josh Allen for that. I mean, he loses, it gets put on his stats, but if you watch that game, he's arguably performing Patrick Mahomes. It's just damn overtime rules. But
yeah,
I don't know. I can't. I don't even have Joe Burrow. I'm flustered now. What the hell, Joe Burrow at number 2? I honestly would probably even take Herbert over Joe Burrow.
Right now, I think Burrow's just been playing better than both of them. Yeah, I don't think it's really close. Maybe if you look at the entire career and you can argue that you could take those other quarterbacks over him, but just right now, who's playing better? I don't think it's a question that Joe. I think it goes Patrick, Joe, Josh Allen,
okay,
Trevor Lawrence, and then probably Justin Herbert.
And there's no love for Jalen Hurts. I get that he hasn't been playing lately, but he was in the MVP conversation before he got hurt.
I would argue Jalen Hurts maybe over Justin Herbert.
I would take Jalen Hurts over Joe Burrow this year.
Facts, I would too. Actually, I would too this year.
No.
I would too this year. Low key.
You're talking about just 1 year? I'm taking Jalen Hurts as number 2.
Yeah, you want to say right now, but I mean, okay, Jalen Hurts hasn't played in a few games, but when he was playing, what were the Eagles, bro? What were his stats? How is he playing? He was
No,
on
I mean,
fire.
I'm not arguing that. He was my choice for offensive player of the year. Like I said, right now, I think Joe Burrow's the hottest.
Hold up. He was your choice for MVP. And you were going to give Mahomes the offensive player of the year. Don't backpack.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
You were.
I don't remember.
What do you mean you don't remember? You were so full of yourself about it too. You're like, what? You looked at the camera and you were all like, when Jalen Hurts wins this award, you're gonna see. Like, you were trying to be so matter of fact about it, and now you're like, Joe Burrow is better than Jalen Hurts, bro.
Well, yeah. I mean,
all it takes is 3 games for you.
Hey,
when was
Tony,
that prediction? When was that prediction? How many
I'm
weeks
just
ago?
saying right now, Steve is a Bengals fan right now. He needs to replace that Raiders jersey or that Raiders flag and put a Bengals jersey back.
Well, yeah, I even said that the Bengals were my pick for the AFC if they beat us last year.
Diehard. He's probably in the bathroom saying "Who they?" like the fucking
my
Bengals
God.
do. It's like,
Wait, you're mad at me because I'm high on the Bengals right now? Like, I don't
yeah.
understand. They have the biggest win streak in the NFL right now. Like,
I'm not saying you're
yeah,
wrong.
I'm a fan of what they're doing.
Yeah, they're a good team, bro. They have great weapons on offense and a good quarterback. I'd say Joe Burrow is definitely like a top 5, top 6 quarterback easily. There's no doubt about it. He's at the
top 3, and he's not 3.
All right.
That's all I'm saying.
All right. Let's get back on track here.
Hold on. I gotta plug the laptop in real quick.
Oh my God. I ain't cutting this out.
oh. I mean, it's like Bengals have played Panthers, Steelers, Titans. Yeah, they beat the Chiefs. Then they played Browns, Bucks, Patriots, Bills, Ravens. They haven't played. I mean, they're all solid teams, but they're not top end besides the Chiefs. I mean, we didn't see the Bills game, unfortunately, but sorry, I can't.
Yeah, I
can't.
I can't either.
I just can't do it. There's no way Burrow is number 2. There's just no way.
I can't.
Even the last game.
I'll listen to the argument, but I don't agree with that. No, I think it's
even
Allen. I think it's Mahomes, Allen, Hurts, and then I'd probably take like this year.
And then I think Herbert, Burrow, and Lawrence this year are that 4 through 6 that you kind of put,
and you can move them around. Yeah, I like that.
Exactly.
I like that. Then everyone
you can make an argument for any one of those.
Everyone outside of that list, I mean, I start to have questions about. Lamar is probably the best out of that list.
I was going to say, that's just this year. If I'm putting Lamar over Herbert, Burrow, and Lawrence personally, overall.
If he was healthy for the whole season, yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. But this season, Burrow is, to me, I would probably put him at 5.
I'd probably take him at 4 over Herbert right now.
I'd probably have Herbert, then Burrow, and then I'll give Lawrence there. Even though I'm probably the highest on Lawrence, it's just he didn't play well the whole season, so I can't really give it to him.
I respect it, but so then that leaves, if we're going to continue working up the AFC, you guys, so Blake, you would have the Chiefs playing the Ravens, who would be the lowest seed. Steve, you would have the Jags playing the Chiefs as the lowest seed, and I would have the Chargers playing the Chiefs as the lowest seed. So I guess let's start with Blake's Ravens, Chiefs, and then Steve, you can go and I'll go last.
So okay. I got my biased opinion, and then I have my non-biased opinion. I mean, if I'm really gonna put it and like take this Ravens jersey off and say it, I do have the Chiefs winning that game. Don't get me wrong. Once again, if Lamar is healthy and playing well, I do think it's going to be a really close game because they're not going to be able to stop the run game. I don't think they would be able to stop J.K. Dobbins. They won't be able to stop Gus Edwards. With a healthy Lamar, if he's able to consistently run and keep himself safe, it's going to be a very, very close game. And it's shown in the past. Chiefs versus Ravens have always been shootouts in the 30-point game, like 34, 31. And it's always been close shootouts, but Chiefs have gotten us majority of the time. So I'll give the benefit of the doubt with Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. And unbiased, I would give it to the Chiefs, and I would have it being like a 28-24 game. Now, biased, I have the Ravens winning 35-0. But no, I'm kidding. But I would have it probably like 21-17.
Okay.
But I'm going unbiased, and I have the Chiefs winning.
I like that. Steve?
What matchup are we doing right now?
So because of the way your prediction worked is that you have the Jags playing the Chiefs, the Jags being the lowest seed.
Yeah.
Who would you have winning that game?
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, I would have the Chiefs winning. I think the Jags are a good team. Trevor Lawrence has obviously been playing extremely well lately, and they're kind of riding this hot wave. I think that matchup against the Chargers is going to take a lot out of them because I do think it's going to be a shootout. But I think Patrick Mahomes has obviously shown that this season he's been the best quarterback in the league. And obviously with home field advantage, he's only ever really played at home in the playoffs. So I see this being another matchup that the Chiefs win. It might be close for a little bit, but I think the Chiefs continue that momentum and they make it to the AFC Championship. I would give me Chiefs probably give me Chiefs 34-24.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I also would have the Chiefs beating the Chargers here. The Chiefs are undefeated against the AFC West this year. They just have an edge over the rest of that division. And I just think that Mahomes has way more playoff experience than Justin Herbert or that Chargers team as a whole. And that team has been there, been in tight games, won close games, and you really can't stop their offense late in games when Mahomes and Kelsey are doing their thing. If they need to get points, if they need to get first downs, if they need to get drives going, those two will get it done. I just don't think the Chargers have the same kind of talent, playoff experience, or defense to really slow that team down. So I'd probably take the Chiefs. Probably by a touchdown here. I'd say the Chiefs 35, Chargers 28.
Yeah, and Pete also had the Chiefs winning this game against the Chargers.
Yep.
You know what? Fuck it. I'm changing my pick. Ravens beating. I don't.
Blake,
don't do that to yourself, Blake. Don't do that to yourself. No, come on, bro.
I would rather die. Going with
Lamar, they haven't been able to score, and he's
what do you mean?
He's going to come out
with
here.
Lamar, we were scoring 24 points a game. We were top 10. So don't give me that.
All right,
but,
all right. Oh,
hey, I'm going back. Ravens beating Chiefs. Like I said, I'm gonna have it 28-24. Ravens beating the Chiefs.
Okay,
on it.
Whatever. Don't do that to yourself, bro.
I'm doing it. I don't care.
All right, bro.
All right, the next matchup would be then
Blake.
I have the Bengals.
Let's do
the Bengals playing the Bills.
Okay.
Yeah. Or Blake's is the only one who's different,
that's
right?
What I was
so
trying
Blake
to say.
would have the Jaguars.
I would have Jaguars versus Bills.
Mm-hmm.
And I have Bills winning this game. I think this is going to be kind of a little bit of a blowout. Maybe not necessarily a blowout, but I have Bills winning this game. Not going to really go too much into it, but I have it being probably, I would say, a 31-21 game.
I could see that. And then Pete obviously has Bills versus Bengals, and he has the Bengals winning that game, surprisingly. So he has the Bengals going up against the Chiefs. Tony, give us your prediction for your Bengals versus Bills matchup.
I would take the Bills to win this game. I think that they're, going to be emotionally motivated to beat this Bengals team after the Damar Hamlin injury. I think that they're really going to come out with a strong game plan for this Bengals team. And, the Bills have shown a lot of resolve this year, despite a tumultuous season for them. And they've still managed to be the 2 seed. They've still managed to look very good. Their running game has significantly improved. And their defense has continued to be stout throughout the season, despite key injuries. Maybe not as good as they once were earlier in the season, but they still looked good. So I would take the Bills in a really close game, a really good game. I'd probably take them, let's say 31-28 against the Bengals.
Yeah, I have it high scoring as well. I think this Bengals-Bills matchup is probably going to be one of the most exciting ones of this playoffs.
Let me guess who you're going to go with. The number 2 quarterback in the league right now.
Yeah, actually I am.
The Las Vegas Bengals?
The reason why I'm going with the Bengals is mainly that we watched the Bills come out against the Patriots, and it was such a heartwarming moment when, they got that kickoff return touchdown to open up the game for Damar Hamlin against the Patriots, but they still managed to somewhat struggle. This game was still pretty close for the most part up until the very end. And like you said it, Tony, they've had a very taxing season with a lot going on. And I just don't see the kind of dominance that I was expecting from them early on in the season that we were seeing. And yeah, I like I said, I think Joe Burrow's the number 2 quarterback right now. I think he's hot. I think they're getting healthy. They're literally clicking as best as they can. Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, that offense is extremely explosive. So give me the Bengals 34-31 over the Buffalo Bills to meet the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship.
Okay. Well, let's do Blake first again, too, with his Ravens Bills AFC Championship.
And this is where it stops. I think this is going to be a Bills win. I think this is going to be a close game. Biased or unbiased, I do think this is where the Ravens will be stopped. And I think Bills will end up winning this game, going to the Super Bowl. And I have this game being a 21-17 game.
Yeah. Tony, how about you?
I had Chiefs Bills, and I have the Chiefs winning this one. I'd rather be right than whatever you think. What are you excited?
Time out. We look at last season. No one expected the Bengals to get there, so there's going to be a team that will surprise everyone. It happens every playoffs. Why not us?
I agree, but it's not going to be the Ravens.
Yeah.
Why not us?
Okay,
I'll take the Chargers or the Jaguars over the Ravens right now.
Facts.
Oh, you're a Bengals fan. That's why.
I would take the Chiefs over the Bills. Listen, the reason maybe why I think my takes are a little boring this playoffs is that I don't know. Part of me feels like the status quo is going to be upheld, and that is that the Chiefs are the best team in the AFC. We had a break from it last year with the Bengals. The Chiefs are the team in the playoffs right now that have the most continuity in their organization. The core has been the same. The coaching staff has been the same. The consistency has been there. The playoff trips have been there. The playoff experience, the games that they've won, the games that they've lost. I never felt for one moment, even in losses, that the Chiefs were ever the worst team on the field. I think that, they haven't been the same dominant team that they were a few seasons ago when they had weapons galore and, more, defensive weapons as well. But the fact remains is that this is a well-coached, well-oiled machine with the best player in football. Yeah, I said player, not quarterback. Most impactful player in football right now with Patrick Mahomes, and what some people are calling the fantasy football MVP, and one of the most impactful skill position players in Travis Kelce. And I think no other team can really replicate that connection, all the success they've had, all the experience they have in the playoffs, and just the continuity. And I feel like that kind of stuff matters in the playoffs, and none of these other AFC teams have that same level of familiarity within their own organization, aside from maybe the Bills, who have had their core together for some time, and they've had their coaching staff there for some time. But I just think that the Chiefs have the Bills number in the playoffs, and we're going to be where we've been multiple times already with Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't think you really go wrong with that take. Pete has the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl as well. He has them beating the Bills.
Boring as well.
I have the Bengals playing the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. And I agree. I think the narrative is kind of written for Mahomes right now. I think he is the best quarterback in the league. Obviously, he just broke the passing yards record, and the Chiefs are just playing extremely well right now. They look like they're the best team on the field every time they're out there. But something about the way the Bengals are playing, and I know Blake can hate me for it all he wants, but I'm riding with it. As good as Patrick Mahomes has been, what has been his one Achilles heel? Joe Burrow. Okay? And I'm telling you, we're riding the wave. Look, you guys you're boring for choosing the Chiefs. Blake's choosing the Bills, who was everybody's preseason pick. Hell, they were even my preseason pick. But I'm going to ride the wave. I'm going to stay on it. I'm consistent with it. Joe Burrow is playing extremely well. He has the Chiefs number. Patrick Mahomes cannot beat him. And although most people will probably take the Chiefs, and the Chiefs probably should be the favorite, I'm going to take the Bengals going back, because we don't have teams going back to the Super Bowl very often.
Let's say
they get back, and I think
he's not even going to make it to the Chiefs. That's the problem.
Like, you have the Ravens winning 2 games. You want me to take you serious over my take?
Hey, even if he does get past the Ravens, he's still not making it to the Chiefs. So it don't matter.
We'll see. But that's my pick. Give me the Bengals over the Chiefs, 27-24.
All right, so you have the Bengals. Me and Pete have the Chiefs, and Blake has the Bills representing the AFC in the Super Bowl. You guys ready to move on and into the NFC, or do we need a break here before Blake loses his mind?
Let's move straight into the NFC. Tony, you get us started with the Niners and Seahawks. Or actually, let me do the seedings here. Obviously, the Eagles finished off with the 1 seed. The Niners finished with the 2. Vikings finished with the 3. Buccaneers won their division, so they finished with the 4. The Cowboys finished with the 5. The Giants with the 6. And the Seahawks sneak in with their overtime win over the Rams to be the 7 seed. Tony, obviously on Saturday we have a divisional rival in the Seahawks playing the 49ers. What do you make of that matchup, with the 49ers seemingly being the scariest team in the NFL recently, or at least the best team in the NFC? What do you make of that matchup?
What I make of this matchup is, if you remember a couple of years ago when the Bucks absolutely or maybe that was last year, but the Bucks absolutely destroyed the Eagles in the first round as the 7th seed. And you were just like, wow, one of these teams is a lot better than the other, and one of these teams is lucky to make the playoffs. I think that's exactly what we're going to see here with the 49ers Seahawks. All of the I don't want 7 seeds making the playoffs haters, all of the people questioning that, are going to be sounding off after this game. Give me the 49ers and give me a multiple score blowout here. I'd probably take them 28-10.
Blake?
You stole the words out of my mouth. I literally was thinking about what I was going to have to score, and I'm not even going to get really into it. I think Brock Purdy's going to have another great game. Nothing spectacular, but throw his 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns that he always does. I have this as, like Tony just said, 28-10.
Yeah, Pete has the 49ers winning, and I'm with you guys. I think it's a clean sweep from the Prime Sports crew. The Niners are going to win this one in easy fashion. Obviously, the Seahawks surprised everybody by even making it, because before the season started, nobody thought they'd even be good, let alone make the playoffs. But the 49ers they're the best team, I think, in the NFL at the moment. And Brock Purdy obviously has been a sensation for them at quarterback. Give me the 49ers 27-17. But I think it's a 10-point game, but I think the 49ers dominate this game for the most part. I don't think it's very close.
After this game, to me, it gets real dicey for the rest of the NFC playoffs. So
yeah, it's hard. It's hard. And you know what, Tony, you get us started again with your Minnesota Vikings playing the number 6 seed New York Giants. Obviously, a game that you guys played not too long ago that kind of came down to the wire. A game-winning field goal by Greg Joseph. What do you make of your guys' matchup here at home in Minneapolis against the Giants?
I think it's going to be a similar result as the first game. I know that the Vikings have faced a lot of question marks here with how they finished out the season. A lot of question marks about their defense and their offensive consistency. The fact that they have a negative point differential, which is the first time that a team with 13 wins has had that. All that being said, the Vikings couldn't have asked for a better matchup in the first round here with the Giants, who I think outside of the Buccaneers are probably, well, the Seahawks too, but I'm just not super impressed with the Giants or the Seahawks or the Buccaneers going into these NFC playoffs. The Giants have been a really one-dimensional offense. Their defense has been keeping them in games, and Daniel Jones is improved, but I mean, improved for Daniel Jones. I mean, he's not a bottom 10, bottom 15 quarterback anymore. He's, doing a little bit better than that. But nothing about this Giants team besides their defense really scares me. Saquon Barkley is good, yeah, but I think that the Vikings aren't going to be beat by just a running game alone. There's going to have to be some other factor there, because this offense can put up points in a hurry on the best of defenses here. So give me the Vikings. I'd probably say 27-24.
Blake?
This is hard to choose this game. I'm not confident in the Vikings whatsoever. I don't like their defense. I don't like that they go down multiple possessions early in games. I want to take the upset, and I will not be surprised at all if there is an upset, but I do have the Vikings pulling this one out. The main reason at home. I do have the Vikings winning this. It's going to be another ugly game. I think this is going to be a 24-21 Vikings win, but don't get me wrong. I honestly would not be surprised if Daniel Jones gets a first career win, playoff win against the Vikings.
Yeah, I think you share a lot of the same concerns that a lot of people do. Pete has the Vikings winning this game. And I understand where you're coming from, because I've held a lot of those same criticisms as well about the Vikings throughout this entire season, because, they do leave a lot of questions. Unfortunately, I do think this is a matchup that favors them. They're at home. I think Justin Jefferson has a big game. I think Saquon has a good game. I think Daniel Jones has a decent game. And I think the Giants are close, but they're not quite there yet. Give me the Vikings 28-20 in a game that the Vikings are in the lead for pretty much the entire game. And it's semi-close, but I agree, Blake. I don't think it'll be the prettiest or most exciting of games. I just don't think the Giants have enough. And I think the Vikings are a good team, but it takes those better teams to really start to expose those holes. So give me the Vikings 28-20. And that leaves us with
Cowboys versus Tom
the
Brady.
Cowboys versus the Buccaneers on Monday night. Personally, for me, this was probably the hardest game for me to decide. As a Raider fan, I'm kind of in on drafting a young quarterback, but signing Tom Brady for that bridge year. That's kind of where I'm at. So as a Raider fan, I kind of want the Buccaneers to lose. That way we can get Brady over here a little bit quicker. But similar to Tony's Vikings, like I've been telling Pete, I don't trust the Cowboys. And my biggest concern with them has been turnovers. And Dak continuously turns the ball over. And he did the same thing in the final game of the regular season against the Commanders, throwing a pick six. So originally I had the Bucks. Tony convinced me of the Cowboys. And this is a game that really could go either way, but I just changed my mind and I'm going with the Bucks. I think Tom Brady is the GOAT. I do think that Dak Prescott's turnovers are the biggest problem, and I don't know if Mike McCarthy's coaching is able to overcome a lot of those problems, because this Bucks defense, you throw a pick against them, I don't know if you're catching back up. So give me Tom Brady and the Bucks over the Cowboys. I'm sorry, Pete, don't hate me. I don't hate the Cowboys, but I just see the Bucks winning this one 24-23. Tony?
Oh,
Pete, you go first.
Blake, go ahead.
Or Blake, you go first. Yeah.
so Pete, I love you, buddy.
Oh man.
You said, Steve, that this is a hard game to choose. This is the game I just don't see the Cowboys winning. I honestly, if I look at it any way, I don't see the Cowboys winning this game for some reason. Even
If
though
they were at home, maybe.
Even if they were at home, I literally am looking at this game. I literally just can't picture the Cowboys winning this game. And even though the Bucks have looked absolutely garbage, I just don't see it. I think this is just going to be a little bit of a vintage Tom Brady coming back. I think this is going to be a big-time upset. I think it's going to be Tom Brady and the Bucks from the beginning. I love to see Mike Evans finally break out the final game of the season. And 2 weeks ago, not the final game, but 2 weeks ago. I think this is going to be Bucks winning from quarter one and Cowboys trying to play catch up. I have this as a 28-20 game. Buccaneers win.
Tony, I feel like you might be feeling a little bit different.
Nah. I feel like y'all hating on the Cowboys for no damn good reason.
Good.
That's all right. The Bucks don't even look okay. But I will.
You're not wrong.
I will say this much. This is how I predict this game is gonna go. You guys are right. Dak Prescott turns the ball over too much. He's probably going to turn the ball over a lot early in this game, and Tom Brady, being the savvy veteran that he is going to capitalize off of those turnovers. And we're going to see probably a two-score, double-digit lead going into halftime. I think that, the Cowboys aren't going to be able to get a whole lot going on offense, and Tom Brady's going to be able to drive it, have shorter fields to work with, a lead to work with, and then it's all going to come crumbling down because the Cowboys have been significantly better in second halves of the game all year against better opponents than the Bucks, and the Bucks have not been able to hold leads, and there have been times where the games have gotten close and they haven't been able to finish the close games like Tom Brady historically has been able to. And I think that this is what this is going to come down to. I think a multiple score deficit is going to be overcame. I think it's going to come down to who can finish a game in the fourth quarter. And I just think when all the lights are on, when all of, the Cowboy haters have come out of the closet, Father Age will officially catch up to Tom Brady, and we're going to see the Cowboys act like they won the Super Bowl when they win this game. I guarantee you that there are going to be fans popping bottles of champagne, confetti, over beating the Bucks after having a huge deficit in the first half. So I think you got
the teams mixed up just a little bit.
Nah.
This is the Cowboys, the Vikings. They don't come back. Dak Prescott doesn't. It's not Kirk Cousins at quarterback.
It's not Kirk Cousins, but Amari Cooper once said that Dak Prescott is the black Kirk Cousins. So I feel like there's going to be some Kirk Cousins-esque effect.
No.
You said you got them controlling the whole game, and I think that the Bucks are going to jump out to a lead, but I don't see anything from the Bucks that tells me that they can hold a lead if they got one. It happened with the Bengals the other week.
Yeah, they were up 17 points.
Hey, but Cowboys,
I like the take. It's different.
Hey, Cowboys can't do anything in the playoffs. They haven't shown that they can come back and win a game. They lose those games.
That's what I think the game's going to be. You think the Ravens are going to beat the Chiefs? I think that I think the Cowboys can beat the Bucks. It's not even that crazy to say. The Cowboys have a way better record, bro. Come on. It's at home.
I agree with Blake in the sense that I think the Cowboys need to prove it, because I do think they need to prove it. They haven't proved it week in and week out, and although they've been the better team, and I think the Bucks, we've talked about how underwhelming they really have, I think they're just going to put a more complete game together, and the fact that they're at home, to me, gives them that advantage, because if this game was in Dallas, I'm pretty sure I'd be going with the Cowboys. That being said, Pete would obviously agree with you, Tony.
Yeah.
He has the Cowboys winning. I don't know if he would want it in the fashion that you said it, but I think he'll take them winning in any way. Leaving that as his NFC matchup, he has the Cowboys versus the Eagles, and he has the Eagles beating his Cowboys, surprisingly. So he has the Eagles making the NFC Championship. Blake, your championship would be the Eagles versus the Buccaneers. What do you see in that?
Next
or
round.
Sorry, in the divisional round. What do you have from that game?
I have the Eagles winning that game. I think Eagles. Jalen Hurts is going to come back, and he played last week. He looked pretty good. He knocked some rust off. He just gets another week to get healthier, and I think he's going to come back strong. I think Eagles end up winning that game pretty easily. I think Tom Brady's at least going to put up a fight, but I just don't see really Buccaneers being able to put up enough points against the Eagles defense. So I have Eagles winning. I'll have that game. I'll have it 28-14.
Tony, you're with Pete that you have a Cowboys-Eagles matchup there. Give us your take on what you would expect from a Cowboys-Eagles matchup.
I think it's going to be one of those classic games where I think that one of the divisional games ends up being more entertaining than a championship round game. And that's just because we've seen two good matchups from both of these teams this season already. But I like the Eagles winning this game. I think that the fact that they were able to come out and be competitive, even with Gardner Minshew in. Granted, the Cowboys were able to come in and be competitive when Dak Prescott was hurt too earlier this season. I just think that the Eagles have looked better consistently all year. That additional rest for Jalen Hurts will be huge for them. They'll be able to come in, relatively healthy, while the Cowboys are going to be coming off a real close win like I had predicted with the Bucs here. And I just think they're going to run out of steam. They're going to get their playoff win, but I don't think they're getting past the Eagles, and the Eagles will end up being in the NFC Championship.
Yeah, I think that's a matchup that everybody wanted to see. And if I were to pick the Cowboys, that's a matchup I would have loved to see, because I think everybody wanted to see a Dak and Jalen Hurts matchup. Because although they've played twice this past season, we didn't get to see them at full health and see them actually play each other. So that's going to be a great matchup. But I'm with you guys all in that I have the Eagles winning. I have them playing the Bucs. Similar to you, Blake. Obviously, I think Brady scores a little bit, but I think Jalen Hurts comes back from his rest. He comes back healthy. I think the Eagles dominate how they have been pretty much all season. Give me the Eagles 24-17 against the Bucs. I think they make their way into the NFC Championship game, and Brady leaves Tampa Bay. Our other divisional matchup, Tony, you get us started with the Vikings and the 49ers. What would you make of that game? Because I know you want to pick your Vikings, but man, those 49ers have been looking different lately.
The 49ers have been looking different lately. And they have been putting teams through hell with their defense. And they've been able to hit the quarterback. They've been able to play coverage well. Really at all phases of defense, the team has been elite. And offensively, with the emergence of Brock Purdy, with the consistent running threat of Christian McCaffrey, and the resurgence of George Kittle in the passing game on this offense now, in the absence of Deebo Samuel, you have to be thinking that the 49ers are poised to win this game against a team with a negative point differential. However, based on my theories and the fact that Kirk Cousins does in fact have that dog in him, I'm going to go ahead and have to take the Vikings pulling a game out of their ass.
And I'm a crazy one.
Look, we all got hot takes, but I like it. I fucks with it.
Listen. How about here's this? I think it's more likely that the Vikings can beat the 49ers than it is that the Ravens can beat the Chiefs.
I don't think that's the case at all.
I think it's higher chance that the Vikings beat the 49ers than the Ravens beat the Bengals, but that's just me.
Steve, you're just a hater. That's why.
I don't even hate the Bengals.
Well, listen, you know what? This is for all the Vikings haters right now. The thing about the Vikings is that I don't think that there's a game they can't win. There's a lot of games that they won't win, but I don't think there's a game that they can't win, and they've proved at least that much that, you can put up 30 points on them and they'll still beat you. You could be one of the best teams in the 49ers against the 49ers. It might not go that way, but I
love the energy.
I don't think that the Vikings, I don't think there's a game they can't win. And so
see, time out. Have nothing against you, Tony, but Steve saying I love the energy, Tony, that's some bullshit. Because I had the same.
Bro, it's a difference from a 3 seed to a 6 seed, Blake. Like,
what you mean?
We don't even know if your quarterback's gonna play. Now, most likely he is.
We're all assuming that Lamar Jackson's gonna play.
And the thing is, the last time Lamar Jackson did play, he looked mid.
Not true. He only played one quarter.
The game before that. Look, I'm not trying to hate on the Ravens. That's not what I'm trying to do. And I even said before my prediction that if he had been healthy and he had been playing going into the game, I would look at it a lot differently than him missing 5-6 games.
You know what? Another thing.
Time out? Okay. If Ravens beat the Bengals, you're wearing this jersey, Steve.
All right, fine. You know what? I'll make that bet with you. If the Ravens beat the Bengals, I will gladly take another I will wear a Ravens jersey during the next episode.
Okay, there
I
we
like
go.
that.
That's all I need. We
I
go
like
back
that.
to the Vikings.
I like that. Listen, when is Brock Purdy gonna have a bad game? It's bound to happen. Why not
Not against the
us?
secondary of the Vikings.
Whoa! All I'm
I-
saying is that the Vikings keep it close. If they can somehow get within shooting distance of winning the game, they can win the fucking game. Like they're more than likely going to win the game if they can just get to within a score on the 49ers. And I think that they can do it. I think that they have that in them. I think that the offense is good enough situationally where they can make that happen. If any team is upsetting the 49ers, I think that it's going to be the Vikings, because I think that the Eagles really haven't had to come behind all year. I think they've been playing with leads. They've been in shootouts, but they haven't had to come back in a game yet. And Jalen Hurts hasn't really seen a defense like this 49ers. The Vikings went through the defensive gauntlet through the middle of this season. They had to see the Bills when they were healthy, when they had a good defense. They had to see the Cowboys, and yeah, they lost that game, but they've had to play a good defense. They've played the Patriots defense. They've played the Jets defense. They've played an improved Giants defense, and they've been successful, albeit minus one of those games where they looked like shit. They've played good defenses. They've been challenged in games, and they've been able to win those games. And I don't think that the Eagles have something like that in them, because if we all go 49ers here, I'm pretty sure our consensus is going to be that the 49ers beat the Eagles. I think if anyone's beating the 49ers before they get to an NFC championship, before they get to the Super Bowl, it's going to be the Vikings.
I don't think you're crazy in what you're. I don't think you're crazy in what you're saying, Tony. But you guys have just shown too much inconsistency for me this season, and I do think you're alone, in this decision, because
okay.
Pete has the Niners beating the Vikings, and Blake, I'm pretty sure you have the Niners beating the Vikings. So, Blake, go ahead and tell us your thoughts on this Vikings-Niners matchup and who you have winning.
To me, it can go one of two ways. At the end result, I have the 49ers winning no matter what, but it can go one of two ways, where Kirk Cousins comes out slow, 49ers get a 2-possession lead, and from there it's going to be a blowout. I don't see the Vikings coming back, doing what they've been able to do against that defense. They're going to be able to double team Justin Jefferson. Dalvin Cook is not going to be able to run against that front seven. Kirk Cousins is going to be under fire all game from Nick Bosa. I don't see any way that they can make a comeback. Now, the only way I see it coming close is Kirk Cousins comes out with the ball and comes out firing. They go up in the lead, and they try to just play that shootout. And they need the momentum quickly. They need to get it early and quickly, a first score, and just try to keep the momentum coming from there. At the end, I have the 49ers winning this. If I had to choose a score, I have this being a 24-17 game.
Yeah, I'm with you, Blake. I have the Niners winning this game, but I don't think that it's out of the realm of possibilities that the Vikings could win this game. That being said, I think the Niners come out early, controlling the game. I think it goes into halftime, maybe like a 21-10 score, and I think the Vikings come back in the second half and they make it a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be a closer game. I think Justin Jefferson goes off. I think Kirk Cousins plays well and kind of opens people's eyes. But I do ultimately have the 49ers winning 34-33 in a shootout in another playoff classic. I think Purdy has another great game. And Tony's asking, like, when is Brock Purdy going to have a bad game? And
this season,
I don't think it's going to be in this game. So, yeah, give me the 49ers over the Vikings. And, Tony, you're the lone wolf on this one. So, if the Vikings somehow manage it, you get all bragging rights. And that brings us to our NFC Championship game, which we have
Tony's the only one that's different. Everyone else got 49ers, Eagles.
So, Tony, you can get us started again. Get us with your Vikings-Eagles NFC matchup. That is a preview, again, of an earlier matchup this season when, obviously, the Eagles came out on top.
Yeah, the Vikings are not good in Philadelphia at all. You saw it in the NFC Championship a few years ago with Case Keenum after the Minneapolis Miracle. Vikings rolled into Philly and got sent packing in a very very handed fashion. And with what Blake said earlier, he said, if I take this Ravens jersey off, I'd have the Chiefs winning. And then he walked it back. Mostly probably despite you, Steve. Honestly,
Probably.
Jersey on. That's why I haven't taken it off.
I don't have the Vikings jersey on, and I said the Vikings would beat the 49ers without it on. But without it on, currently as I am, I don't think they beat the 49ers and then beat the Eagles right after that. I think it's going to take a lot out of them. After those close, tight-knit comeback games, the Vikings don't look as good coming out of those games, and that's been pretty consistent through this whole season. So I'd probably have the Eagles winning that one. I'd probably say 31-21.
See,
yeah, you're the lone one there. Pete has the 49ers beating the Eagles, and obviously that would make him happy because he hates the Eagles. Blake, you were getting started there. Give us what you see this NFC Championship game between the Eagles and the Niners, the top two seeds in the NFC.
Well, just to bring up on Tony's point, if for somehow the Vikings do pull it off against the 49ers, I think they would beat the Eagles. I would give it to them against the Eagles. I just think 49ers matchup is way too strong for the Vikings.
Yeah.
I think the Eagles don't match up well against the Vikings. I don't think they would be able to stop Justin Jefferson. So for somehow, if Vikings can make it past 49ers, I will say Vikings in the Super Bowl. But go on, my pick right now is 49ers Eagles, and I have this being, once again, not that close of a game. I have 49ers kind of coming in comfortably and just kind of almost like just making this game look easy to them. I have this game I'll put it as a 24-10 NFC Championship win for the 49ers.
Oh, wow. That's interesting that you have the Eagles only scoring 10 points. I have the 49ers at around a similar score also. I think this is a good NFC Championship game. A lot of running the ball, a lot of defense. Is going to be cold. But I agree. I have the 49ers winning this. I think Jalen Hurts comes back and plays well. I think the Eagles play well, but I don't think he's quite that MVP showing that we would want to see from him. I think the Niners are just too good. That defense is extremely fast. They're disciplined. And once again, I don't think Brock Purdy has a bad game. And I'm not saying he's going to come out here and throw 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, but I expect another 200-yard, 1 touchdown, 2 touchdown, no picks, maybe 1 pick at most. But even then, I don't know if I see that happening. I think the Niners are the clear-cut favorites, and I've been saying it all season that they're the scariest team, and I stuck to it. I think they've shown it, and I think they come out on top over the Eagles and make their way into their Super Bowl. Which finally brings us to our Super Bowl matchups, which 2 of us have the same ones and 2 of us have different ones. Tony, you have the Chiefs and the Eagles. Sorry, the Chiefs and the Eagles. What do you see from that Super Bowl matchup, Patrick Mahomes versus Jalen Hurts?
I see, a really good game. I think it's going to be an entertaining game. I don't think it's going to be a shootout by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's going to be lots of field goals being kicked, and turnovers mattering a lot. I think both of these teams have championship pedigree and could win this, but ultimately, this is kind of what I've been feeling probably since about week 12, that this is just the Chiefs' year. There's no other team that scares me as much. I know that we say that the 49ers are arguably the scariest team in football, and they're the scariest team in football, arguably, you could say, by their collective. I think as long as the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes, they're in that same conversation for scariest team in football. He's been the boogeyman of the NFL for, pretty much since his first year starting. Brady's had success with him playing as well. He's been able to get the better of him. But aside from the GOAT, Mahomes has been able to really play good football pretty much his whole career in the playoffs against good teams consistently. And, I couldn't expect it to be any other way. So I would probably say give me the Chiefs in this game 24-17 against the Eagles.
Yeah, that's a matchup of the number one seeds that you have there. Blake, you have the Bills versus the 49ers. What would you make of that Super Bowl matchup with the kind of season that the Bills have obviously had? I mean, just up and down the entire season, and obviously the 49ers riding that Brock Purdy wave behind all their injuries to quarterback.
I think this would be the Josh Allen show. This is when Josh Allen puts up the 350 yards passing, 3-4 touchdowns, 2 of them going to Stephon Diggs. And you never even know. We might even have a Davis Super Bowl or playoff run again. I think this is going to be a very great game against with the Buffalo Bills against the 49ers. I have this being a very, very close game. I have Buffalo winning by, I guess you could say game-winning field goal, but late field goal to take the lead. I have this game probably being a 31-34 Buffalo Bills winning.
Wow, I like it. I would agree. I don't have the Bills in the Super Bowl, but if they were to make it there, I would agree that Josh Allen, I think, would perform on the biggest stage. Pete has the 49ers against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and he has the Niners ultimately beating the Chiefs. So he has the Niners winning the Super Bowl. Blake, you have the Bills, and Tony, you have the Chiefs. I actually have someone different. So we all have a completely different Super Bowl winner, which honestly, I love it.
Guess. The good old Joe Burrow.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I have the Bengals and the 49ers in the Super Bowl. If I didn't have the Bengals in the Super Bowl, I think I would still have selected an AFC team. I think this year is just, it's written that an AFC team is going to win the Super Bowl. The quarterback play is just on another level. I can make a case for the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. I can make a case for the Bills winning the Super Bowl. So don't let it just be like, oh, it's just the Bengals. I just think the AFC is just slightly better than the NFC. And the NFC is almost there. They're close. They have a lot of potential. But this is a matchup that I think works well for Joe Burrow because I think it's going to be a close game. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, I kind of see the Bengals being what the Packers became for so long. Like Aaron Rodgers was this flashy, really good quarterback who's come in and now he's an MVP. He's taking his team deep into the playoffs and he's challenging the greats like Tom Brady. And that's just how I see the Bengals right now. And I think that's going to be Joe Burrow. I think that loss last year to the Rams really hurt him. He was close. I think they got to figure it out at the right time. I think Brock Purdy plays well again, and I think he makes a case for staying the 49ers quarterback for the future. But give me the Bengals. Give me Joe Burrow. 24-21. over the San Francisco 49ers. Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty gets his revenge. I'm sorry, Blake. I know you hate it being a Ravens fan, but I'm feeling it. I'm sticking strong to it.
I love that Steve has the Bengals beating the Ravens in the first round, and Blake has the Ravens beating the Bengals in the first round, and Steve has the Bengals winning the Super Bowl. So you have two completely different picks here. Steve, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
When are you changing your Twitter handle to @PSB Marquez?
Yeah, this is a Bengals fan now.
No, look, like I said, you can make the case for so many other teams. Like you really could. I think the 49ers are the clear cut in the NFC, if not maybe the Eagles. But for the AFC, like I said, I would have them the favorites, regardless if it was the Chiefs or the Bills.
Hey, didn't this guy just say on our group chat he wants a Derek Carr jersey? It's like, damn,
Yes,
now
sir.
we might as well
I
give him
still
a Joe.
want a Derek.
Nah, we gotta.
I'll take a Joe Burrow. I'll take a Joe Burrow jersey too.
Joe Shiesty, fucking gross.
Thank you, Shicey Fan 420. We appreciate your take.
Hey, look, at least I didn't go basic with the picking the 2 number 1 seeds to make the Super Bowl.
I agree.
Then, Blake, you had the 2 number 2 seeds. I don't think you can really go wrong. All of these teams, it's been an extremely exciting season. I'm thankful, I want to say thank you to not only the fans and the audience, to our listeners, to the podcast, and to our viewers on YouTube, but to my co-hosts as well, Tony, Blake. I know Pete's not here, but you guys dedicate just as much, if not more time than the rest of us. We're constantly trying to make, the shows better for you guys and trying to show you guys that we know what we're talking about. But at the end of the day, it's been an extremely crazy season. We're finally to the playoffs. We only have about another month left of football, guys, before it's over again. And, we have to shut it down until August, until the games. Obviously, there's going to be a crazy offseason, and one that I expect to be probably the wildest we've ever seen. But, yes, thank you guys, obviously. And, I'm excited. I'm excited for this matchup. I don't know if there's anything you guys wanted to say before, the playoffs really begin.
No, that's everything. I mean, I appreciate all the fans, everyone tuning in. It's been an interesting season. A lot of different things happened that I didn't think were gonna happen to start off the season.
Yeah.
So, but it's been fun to watch, and I'm looking forward to these playoffs. Definitely.
Right on.
Yep. All right. Well, with that pretty much wraps up this 12th episode. Hopefully next week, it'll be our first recap of the playoffs, and hopefully we'll have Pete back. Other than that, thank you guys for listening.